Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to another episode of Found Footage Fridays with my co-host, Tom Reimer.
And this is our episode closest to Halloween. So this is
It
our
is.
official Halloween episode, maybe. So
You're decked out.
a little bit decked
Oh,
out.
there's like a pattern on your shirt.
Yeah, it's like Halloween.
Oh, is there pumpkins? That's precious.
Pumpkins, ghost, boo. Yeah.
I couldn't tell there was a pattern until you moved
Gotta
it. And I'm like,
look
oh, there's a little pattern on
really
it. Oh, spider webs. Oh, that's so cute. I love it.
fashion
I
show.
want some spooky button-ups. That's cute. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
Well, so this is an exciting one, right? Because
Very.
we got screeners to see
A movie that is not out yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I was like, no, let's wait. So a very highly anticipated movie that is not out yet. And don't worry, I'm sure you've seen the title at this point. Don't worry, we will do the same thing we always do. No spoilers first. We will always say when we're gonna do spoilers, we don't want to ruin it for anybody. So
this movie's gonna be out how many days from now?
4
days from now on Shudder.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. Are you gonna say it or should we?
We can do our is it this way? Oh my God. We're discussing the 2023 found footage movie, Hell House LLC, The Carmichael Manor.
And if you've watched other or past episodes of Found Footage Fridays, you will know I'm a huge fan of the Hell House LLC series. I was a huge fan of all the 3 original movies, even though a lot of people tend to, as we've discussed, like 1 or 2 or 3, but maybe not all of them. I've always been a fan of all 3 of them for different reasons.
Yeah.
But especially the first.
Yeah, I mean, and I think because we talked about the Hell House LLC last October, right? We covered the first one.
We did. Yep. Wow, a year ago.
Yeah. Wow. And yeah, this is a franchise that people really love. I feel like it's about and it's not the same as far as like how many movies, obviously, but it's getting there. But it's very similar with how people are about VHS.
Yep.
It's like there seems to be this like booming like excitement for this. And when they announced that we were getting Hell House LLC Origins, the Carmichael Manor, people were like, oh my God. Like people were so excited.
It's been a little while. Yeah.
Yeah, because we got the announcement a bit before. Yeah. So I'm just going to read this short synopsis really quick. A group of cold case investigators stay at the Carmichael Manor, site of the grisly and unsolved murders of the Carmichael family. After 4 nights, the group was never heard from again. What is discovered on their footage is even more disturbing than anything found on the Hell House tapes. Ooh, that's a bold. Okay.
And it sort of
I didn't know that was the description.
It sort of starts out like the other movies in that, it's I guess, mockumentary sort of style. People who, I wouldn't know if I call them survivors, but people who knew the individuals involved and reporters and that sort of stuff. And so it definitely, they did a really good job of giving it the same exact feel of the original 3 movies.
Yeah, definitely in that regard, I would agree because they, I like those pieces. I think those pieces have been some of the stronger pieces, even in the ones. Because I mean, I wasn't a super big fan of 2. I didn't finish 3. I couldn't. Like, I just got so frustrated with it. But that was one thing that they've all had that has been a stronger element overall. So I was glad to see that they continued that, into this one.
But obviously, this is different, and this does not take place at the Abaddon Hotel, where the original 3 movies take place.
Right.
This takes place at the Carmichael Manor, which, at first glance, seems to have no connection to Abaddon. And I would say that, well, before we get into, should we probably give our ratings now, or do you want to say a little bit more about the general setup?
I'm trying to think of what else we could really say. Well, I guess we'll do our ratings because when we talk about our ratings, we usually talk about things we liked and we didn't like. So we can kind of, as a general thing before we, So we can do that. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I, unsurprisingly, really like this movie. I thought the scares were good. I thought there were some real suspenseful moments in this. There were some things about this movie that reminded me of the original movie that I really liked. Um, and I felt myself very engaged. I felt myself unable to remove my eyes from the screen a couple times, like really invested in it.
Okay.
Even though because this was a screener, I was watching it on my laptop, which was
Yeah.
less than ideal. But
Yeah.
so on that note, I'm gonna give this movie 8 tapes out of 10. See your face already. Yes, 8 tapes out of 10. I really liked
To
Carmichael
be
Manor.
fair, I know you well enough in this regard to know that I knew you were going to rate this substantially higher than I did. I knew that going into it because
Yep,
we talk about this all the time. We have different boxes that we want
yep,
checked.
yep,
And I did already know from previous conversations that you were fans of two, or you were a fan of 2 and 3. So
yep.
um yes,
I
I
think that,
already
but I think this one is better than 2 and 3. This is, I think
I
the
can
first
agree
Hell
with
House,
that.
yeah, the first Hell House is the best.
The
There's
best.
no comparison. It's one
Yeah.
of my favorite found footage movies, period. And then this one would be, I would say, in the
It's
series,
on our thing for that very reason.
it's on that shirt. Yep,
For
which you
that
can
reason.
get.
Yeah.
You
You
can
can.
buy.
Links in the description.
Hmm.
And don't worry if you don't like tie-dye, it comes on all kinds of stuff and all kinds of colors. So
Right. Yeah. So I would say in the series, this would be my second favorite of the movies
okay.
after the original. Yep.
That's probably true for me too.
Oh, okay.
Um, having said that, um, one of the things that I loved so much about the first one, because I also really, really love the first one. I don't think I like it as much as you do, simply because I think the ending really took me out of it, because I felt the ending was really weak, but for the first one. But I really loved the way the first one was able to keep you, like you said, like paying attention, how you were able to do that for this movie. That was how the first one was. And I've been waiting to get back to this atmosphere, these moments where you're like, what's going to happen next? Where's this going to go? Like, because in the original, there's this big buildup to this one moment of the story. We already know things go awry, and we are watching the events unfold. And this is, I think, similar enough in that regard. You start out with some history about the place. We get
Hmm.
our main characters established, why they're going, and all these things. And I think that setup is very similar to the original.
Yep.
And there's a couple of things, that I thought worked really well as far as the scares. To me, the biggest thing was it just didn't captivate me the same way that the first one did. This felt more like 2 to me,
Okay.
as far as the way that the scares were set up, the way that it felt like those happened in moments where they weren't built up enough to be effective for me. So I
Okay.
wasn't like the jump scares didn't get me, not a single one, which is almost unheard of, because jump
Mhm.
scares always get me. Like, none of the jump scares got me. There's a couple scenes that they revealed in the trailer that they should not have. Um,
Oh, okay. See, I didn't see it. I did not watch the trailer.
oh, see, I did a trailer react. So I talked about the trailer, and
Oh,
I saw the trailer, and the trailer's got some things in it that, I mean, it really should have left.
I can
Um,
imagine what might have been in it, and I can get
mhm,
that. Like if they put the things I'm wondering if they did,
mhm.
that would have been
Yeah.
that would have maybe lessened my experience.
Yeah, and I can confirm once we get to spoilers, I'll tell you
Okay.
which ones. But I will say the other thing I did like about it was, I do like that it kind of expanded on the story. Now, obviously, we're in no
Mhm.
spoilers, so I won't elaborate on how. And we all know going into this, there's got to be a connection, or it wouldn't be a Hell House movie. It would be a failure if it didn't connect in some way. So I don't feel like it's a spoiler to say that, but it's yeah, it just didn't. It missed the atmosphere for me.
Okay.
And then some of the stuff was stuff we've already seen, so it just didn't work as well as it did the first time. And
Yep.
um, but yeah, I wasn't as bemused with this. So having said that, I was able to finish it, which is more than I can say for 3. So, and it would also be my number 2 in the franchise if I was ranking them.
Yep.
But for those reasons, I am going to give Carmichael Manor 4 out of 10 tapes.
4. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah. Not quite good enough for me, middle ground wise. If I think I don't know for sure, obviously, because I can't change my experience at this point. But I do think maybe if I had gone in blind, or if they had chosen to keep certain things out of the trailer, it might would have been a little bit better. But there were certain things that I knew that were about to happen that
Yeah,
I think if I hadn't known, those moments would have worked better. And one of them was a
maybe.
jump scare. So
Okay. I wouldn't even say for me, it was necessarily like jump scares. I did feel like there were some really great atmospheric moments, and I think it the setting just sort of lent itself to that. There are moments where it's just creepy to be alone in a giant,
house.
reportedly haunted house. Like
Sure.
even in the middle of the day, some of these scenes, it's perfectly light out, and one of them is alone in the house, and
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
it just is creepy. Now, I think what's missing from maybe this, like, what I think one of the things I really love in the original movie is it's set in it's set around the Halloween season. It's set in like a haunt, which I love. So this doesn't
Same.
obviously do that. It's not. Um, I also think if I was to pick a weakness,
Mhm.
it actually would be maybe how they connected it to the original movies. Like it's kind of, I would say, not fully fleshed out, like loose.
Yep.
Like they connected it, like it's on okay, but I would say I have questions about that connection, and
Yeah.
um, you know, without
Yeah.
revealing too much, basically. But
Yeah.
and even I would say go as far as to say at the end when there's stuff that's revealed, what did that exactly mean? I'm not 100% sure, and I'll get to that. Like, what was revealed? So
Yeah. Yeah.
not a, hun-
I
not, not,
think, yeah, I mean, I think that the connection was an interesting attempt because it was out there, but it wasn't so far out there that you didn't buy it.
right. No, no, it was
Because I bought it, but I get what you're saying. It was kind of like a shallow exploration instead of something that was like had like some depth and some details. Like it wasn't. I mean, yeah, it's. I'll speak more about that when we get to spoilers.
yeah,
But I think it was. It could have been a lot. But I will tell you, even I really didn't like 2 either, but the biggest weaknesses in these films are the endings. Like even the first one to me was so good. And then it's like we're building up to this moment, building up to this moment. We get the moment, and I'm like, that's it. People in cloaks. I was so disappointed. Like they had built up this moment, right? And I think anytime you go into a story, especially obviously this happens a lot in found footage. We talk about this too, because like the whole point of it is like everybody dies because they find the footage. Like that's a known thing. But like even going into stories knowing that, like you still have to make the ending worth it. And
yeah.
this one was like, I don't know, it just kind of was lackluster for me.
Okay, I can see that. I see, and I did like the ending of the
Yeah.
original. Not necessarily the people in cloaks. I liked the twist with the woman that they had, who was like a survivor, and they were interviewing her.
That part was
And
okay.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Um,
Or she goes back and she brings people to the house to the house,
well, it's just,
to the Abaddon and yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
um, so so let's spoil it.
Yeah. So if you have not seen Carmichael Manor, it will be out in 4 days on Monday on Shutter, and you can watch it then.
But I
And then come
think
back and watch our spoiler thoughts if you want.
my vote is that you should go watch this. I think it's awesome. I
Yeah.
really liked it. It's scary. It's not as good as the very first Hell House, but I think it's a solid second best in the series.
Yeah. And the gamer in me is the completionist. So I think if you've seen the others, you should definitely see this one.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Because what I will say is it is definitely better than 2 and 3. Which
Yeah,
was really my only standard for like going into it.
better
I
than
just
two
needed
and
it to be better than 2 and 3, but yeah, so you'll be able to watch that on Monday. So just again, we're going into spoilers. I don't want anybody mad in the comments. We're gonna ruin this movie now. So if you have not seen it and you want to wait, it will be out in a couple of days.
and here we go.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. So it starts off right. They're content creator. What would you call them? Documentary
You're right. Yeah, because
investigators.
they're yeah, because well, I like maybe a mesh of all of those things.
Yeah.
Because she wants to go like she goes to look at like places with like cold case backgrounds and
Mhm.
tries to solve mysteries. She's a Scooby.
Yeah, she's a Scooby.
Yeah.
And of course, they've never, just like all these,
Mhm.
all the places they've been to, none of them are actually haunted.
Yep.
Um, and she's going with her partner, it seems,
Mhm. Yep.
um, and they end up after they're there. Her brother ends up
Joins.
joining them,
Yep.
and he's got some sort of, you think it's like a mysterious backstory. It ends up not being that mysterious. Uh, like I thought it was going to be way more mysterious than it was.
I really thought it was gonna go into all kinds of directions, and then it definitely did
Yeah, like connected somehow to the story, but it wasn't.
not.
Um, maybe that would have been too obvious. But
Maybe.
um,
Maybe it was
so
meant to be a misdirect.
I think yeah, it probably was. So at first, I mean, I think the only connection you know of is that uh, there's a really like awkward way they try to connect this movie to the originals at the beginning, where the guy who's showing them the mansion's like, "Oh, by the way, down the street, the Avedon Hotel just burned down, and there's some stuff of it, that they salvaged from the wreckage. Exposition. You know what I mean? Just like, which felt like very forced,
Forced.
I would say, and that's fine. I thought like the acting was really good. I thought the story was all really good at that point, so I kind of ignored that.
You're just like, "Okay, yeah."
Yeah,
I think I did the same thing because the thing is, like, it was so early on that other things happen, you're able to just kinda be like, "Whatever."
you get a little bit of backstory on the main character, who
Mhm.
there's something that happened to her at a carnival when she was a kid,
Yeah,
and she was almost kidnapped or something
kidnapped.
to that
Yeah,
effect.
she's almost kidnapped.
So it scarred her. Um, and
Which I guess is, like, why she's so into these things is
yeah,
because
explanation.
yeah.
Um,
Too much, honestly, we didn't really need all of that. The history doesn't like, her past with that, you can remove that from the story and it does nothing, it makes no difference.
yeah,
Because I don't know if you realized it, but, like, I mean, I figured it out. As soon as she said it was a fair, I was like, "Oh, well, I've already made the connection." So it wasn't like a
I didn't
shock.
that fast. I didn't that fast. I think when she opened up that trunk and all the stuff was in there, I was like, oh, okay.
That's
Um,
like halfway though, right? That's way
yeah,
before they reveal it.
that I sort of started. Well, I don't know if I like, fully connected it to
Oh,
where it
okay.
got. No, I just thought. Um, and
I
then
can really
they were
think
obviously like when they're whoever the caretaker is, there's obviously the room they're not supposed to go in that's locked, and you're like, okay, well, there's gonna be stuff in there, and
yeah,
of
and
course
I
there
because of the things that he said, I already knew what was gonna be in there too, or
it
at least
it,
some of it.
it was three clown mannequins,
Clown suits or whatever,
the
yeah.
very same sort of looking clown suits from the original movies, or at least one of them is the exact one from the original
Mhm.
movies, which is creepy that there's just clown mannequins in there. So you're like, okay, well, these things are going to appear later on. um, there's like a whole backstory to what happened in this mansion, also that we haven't explained, where terrible
The
things happened to the family, and
Amityville,
some of
but
them were never found. Yeah, Amityville, except some of them were never found.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so eventually, the main character and her partner have an excuse to leave because they got to go to this antique store. And while they obviously they leave the brother alone. I don't know why he can't go with them, but they leave him alone.
Because
Um,
then we can't get these scenes in the
right,
house.
which are some of the best scenes, I think,
Yeah, yeah.
where he's alone in the house and he shouldn't be hearing anything. He starts like there's a couple of awesome shots. One, he hears a sound. He thinks they're home. Obviously, they're not home. He's calling to them, and he sees like some shadows on the wall, like moving.
Mhm.
I thought it was a really cool effect.
Yeah.
Uh, And then when he gets closer, he sees that the shadows are being cast by those clown mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's like this, they did this effect over and over again with this red ball bouncing down the hallway,
Yeah.
which was fine. One of the creepiest moments, I thought, again, him alone in the house. Again, there's another moment where he's alone in the house,
Mm-hmm.
and he he either hears a girl laughing or something, and there's that like shot with just like the hand barely around the
I
corner.
love I love shots like that.
That was really, really unnerving. It was actually much less unnerving when you finally see her. I mean, fine, she had like the mask on or whatever, but it was just that little hint of that her hand around the corner
Mhm.
suggesting there was somebody in the house that he was seeing. So
Yeah.
all of that was creepy. Some of the best stuff in the movie, I thought.
Yeah.
Um, and then they come back, and this stuff. It just obviously here we go again with these movies where like stuff starts like really happening. There's a lot of really creepy stuff going on,
Mhm.
and they stay. You know what I mean? Like it's just a hallmark, not a found footage movie, but a horror movies. Like people who are really stupid, and like in real life, if these things actually happened,
I'm out.
no rational humans would just
No.
wait it out. So,
Yeah.
um, so that's a little. I wouldn't say frustrating, but expected and stuff we see in these movies
Well,
often.
and there's that whole part where they're at the antique shop and they find this clock and they just like take all this stuff out the back of it.
Yeah,
And I was just like, everything felt so planted.
right. That felt
Like
a little
there's a
sequential.
lot of things
Coincidental.
in this that felt like just not real. Like when her brother gets there and she and her brother have this interaction, it was
Yeah,
100% fake. Like there was nothing about that interaction that was convincing for me. So like when she's like asking all those questions about him dating somebody, it just sounded fake.
yeah,
None of it
yeah,
sounded real or organic, especially considering he was like having these issues. Like she didn't seem like a concerned, really just happy he's there. Like it just felt like this very fake sibling interaction.
yeah.
And then
I
they go
felt that.
and they, huh?
I felt that. I didn't know if the character was sort of acting, was supposed to be sort of acting a little bit because
Uh,
there was some sort of, you know, her brother has had a rough go of it, and she just was glad to see him there and knows that it's not all right, but sort of putting on a
In
face.
my I think if in order for that to have been conveyed better, they could have had a separate conversation with her and her partner about it. Because the
Yeah,
way that she's communicating to her partner before her brother even gets there is that she's like really worried about him and she just wants him to be included because she needs to keep an eye on him
yeah,
basically and she wants to make sure that he's okay. But then it was like this just overly like like I don't know like you run into somebody you hated in high school and they're like so nice and so you're being nice too but you're like you were mean
yeah,
like that's
yeah,
how that interaction felt. It felt very like just not, I don't know, it didn't feel very genuine to me.
yeah,
The planted stuff in the clock bugged me. It was
yeah.
too perfect.
I get that.
I just didn't. And then it was like too like, another scene talking about like, the one when or the ones when he's like by himself. I did think those were pretty good, some of them. But the other scene that I did kind of like a little bit of was when the wife or the partner had to but yeah, so like that scene when she's doing the video call and the presentation's messed up and then like there's pictures of her. I
Hmm.
like stuff like that, like where it's like, who's doing this? How is this happening? Like it's very weird. I like when like spooky stuff messes with technology. And so
Sure.
then there's like all of a sudden there's like a woman in the room with her. Like I really liked that. The jump scare I was mad about, but the rest of it I thought was really good.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think I feel like I one of my biggest problems though was
Mhm.
I don't know when they were trying to with basically the whole reveal at the end with the brother who was somehow connected to the Abaddon, and when everything went bad, he was somehow connected. It felt so loose. Um, not the
Yeah.
brother, not the brother of the filmmaker, the brother who survived
The
in the original
Carmichael,
story, who was like the clown
the
or something,
clown.
or like or something like that. It was very confusing to me. So what were we seeing his ghost alive in the house now? Were we seeing
Him
him still like as an old man decades later, still wearing the
hanging out in
clown?
the old house.
Yeah, what were we seeing? That was to me
Yeah.
tough and confusing.
Yeah, and I think too, like with I think it was kind of neat to like get a better concept of like these costumes and like I liked what they attempted to do with this as far as
Yeah,
like just kind of like adding to the story in general. But it became too loose. I think you said that perfectly. And then it's too like the initial thought of like, okay, the Carmichael brother is connected and this is how I was fine with that. But the rest of the wrap up felt stretched
yeah,
and
and
weird. And it's like, and that's what I'm saying. Like when they reveal, that the carnival or fair or whatever she was almost kidnapped at was like the one that they were at, or the one that one particular one was at. It was just kind of like, so like, I just didn't feel, I wasn't like, oh my God. Because, first of all, again, I already figured that out. I already knew, because when I think carnival, I think clowns. So immediately I was like, okay,
yeah,
well, they were probably there. And that's got to be the reason they're even bringing that up. But it's
yep,
like, if they removed that entire section of the story, nothing about this film would change. It's
nothing.
not necessary.
So here's the question: was he supposed to be the clown that grabbed her as a kid?
I think so. It was his suit that was in the background of the picture,
Yes,
right?
it was.
Yeah.
I guess like they didn't even do a good job. Like it was almost like a huh when she said that, because like I don't think she said it was a clown, did she? Like even
Nope.
originally, she
Nope.
just said it was like a guy.
Well,
So
and they do this weird connection thing, or this weird like explanation where like one of the guys that's doing like the interview style part is like, and then some things, I forget exactly what he says, but he's like this whole thing at the end where he's like, and then some things are there the whole time and you don't even know it or something. And it was almost like they were just trying to make a weird parallel, like how odd that she got kidnapped or almost got kidnapped and these clowns were there, versus making it a definitive thing of like, no, they were part of the problem. Because to my understanding, now I didn't finish three, so if I'm wrong, definitely let me know. But to my understanding, snatching up kids at carnivals was not part of Hell House LLC.
nope. Well, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah,
what was his connection to the events of the
yeah,
original movie, which
yeah.
which um actually happened after the original Carmichael event. So like, w- how is it all
Yeah,
connected? That's what I mean. Like I get that there were cloaked figures in both movies.
sure.
Not exactly sure still what they were. I get that the Abaddon guy went and worked at a carnival.
Like, okay,
So
fine.
so
I
what?
think
How
that
is that connected to this clown? Like, did he find this clown and get him to come work at his hotel?
what's
Not
the
sure.
reason? Yeah,
Um, and then how is that then connected to what happened in the haunt in the first movie? I really don't know. Like it's sort of like it's loose. Like it's like you have to connect an awful lot of dots and fill in a lot of plot point. I don't know. It's like
yeah. I think we
plot
talked
holes.
about this with a couple other movies in the past where it's like, it's cool to like have people thinking about what you did in a film or like talking about it afterwards or thinking about it for a few days. But when you leave too much up to the viewer's imagination, it gets confusing and frustrating.
Yes, I agree. I
And
agree.
I think, and so one of the major scenes that I was talking about that's in the trailer is the cloak figure in the hallway.
Oh, yeah, that would be
Like that, well, first of all, that scene still doesn't make very much sense. But aside from that, it doesn't like, it should have never been in the trailer because there's not, technically speaking, there's not that many scares for you to reveal one of your biggest ones in the
Right.
trailer, I think personally is a mistake. Anybody that goes in to see this that has seen the trailer, I think is going to be annoyed that that was in there because it
Yeah.
shouldn't have been.
Yeah, I would have been annoyed, and I don't think I saw any. I might have saw, like, a teaser, like, when they announced
Sure.
they were going to be making this movie, but I don't think I ever watched a trailer, so now I'm glad I didn't.
No,
Um,
I think, and I'm trying to remember, there's another scare that's in the trailer, but I'm drawing a total blank on what it is now.
well, I was wondering if it was just even that like, for me,
Mhm,
while I assumed the clown would be in
mhm,
this movie, I did not know that it would. I mean, I think on the poster
mhm.
was the clown's face, but I didn't know if that was just like a you know, how they're connecting it to the other movies or like what exactly. So I was mildly surprised that the clown mannequins were in this house right off the bat. I also would have been disappointed if I'd seen, I think, the character like with the mask leaning around the corner. I don't know if that was revealed in the trailer. That would have been disappointing.
Oh, I think it is. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
If it's not the face, it's the hand. There's
Okay.
definitely it's one of
Something
those
like
though,
that.
yes. And I
Yeah. That,
think, like, the thing that for me too is that, like, and you've kinda touched on this already, is the timeline is really wonky because who if okay, so if we're assuming that the Carmichaels are all dead because 'cause they're supposed to be. So if they're all dead,
right.
and so who put the suits in there because they were killed before anything happened at the Abaddon?
Yeah.
But the timeline, because these are present day movies. This isn't
Yeah.
like this one took place in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like this is like
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And so
Um,
it's like I don't know if it's because I know like the
Well,
character.
I didn't know if it was supposed to be all his stuff was just sort of collected and thrown into a room and then someone locked the door. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's sort of
I think a thing they should have done with the clowns, and this is just my opinion instead, is had them at the antique shop and then have them just randomly appear at the house.
right. That would have been much more effective.
That would have been more effective because one of the things, for me at least, in the original that made those things so scary is how they were supposed to be in one place, but then they weren't. Like, we didn't see them move that much. Most of the time, it was just suddenly they'd be there. And then we saw, movement later as the
Yeah.
movie went on. But with this, it was like, it was like
Yeah.
too perfect. Like
Well, they were moving too much, right? Is
yeah,
that what you're saying?
too
Well,
much,
there's
way
one
too
like literally, eventually,
much.
you actually see the clown walking towards them.
I hated that so
That sort
much.
of that ruined the effect. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
ruined it because part of it's like the mannequin thing where it's like you don't look and then the mannequin moves closer,
Well,
like that kind of stuff.
also, okay, so one of these mannequins, my understanding is the real one is like the costume, and the other two are like mannequins. However, they were
Oh,
all like appearing around the house. So then
yeah.
again, the question is there some spirit? Is this a supernatural thing or someone wearing one of the costumes and moving the others around? Um,
Yeah.
but then again, the guy is also seeing the sister in a mask.
I
So is
it's
that
so
real or is
confusing.
he just, you know, does he have his own things he's working on? And is he seeing things? Like,
And I think, you know what I think too? I think the other thing for me is there's too many story elements
yeah,
because aside from the family murders that we start out with the knowledge of, like, this is what happened with this family, there's then the accident that the brother survives and the sister doesn't. And then there's the connection with the other thing. And then there's the girl who almost got kidnapped. And then, oh my God, the clown from one of them was at the carnival. She almost got kidnapped. It's too many pieces.
yeah,
It's like it overcomplicates what could have been a very simple, straightforward, and really great continuation, because even though the word origins is in this, it's not a prequel. It takes place after the Abaddon's been burned down.
right,
So
right.
it's only called Origins because they're backtracking on the story and making the Carmichael brother a part of the clown group or whatever,
That's
cult,
right.
whatever you want to call
That's
it.
right.
So
Otherwise, it's
just a sequel,
right. Um,
a strange sequel where they were like, man, people really love these movies. We should make another one. And you know, but we've already burned down the house. I guess the house. I keep calling it a house. The hotel. I guess the hotel burns at the end of the.
I
Which one?
forgot that. I actually forgot. I'm not exactly sure what happens at the end of the third one. The third one, I think I saw one time. It's not my favorite.
I couldn't get through it, but
Yeah.
I think it burns down at the end of the third one.
Yeah, sounds
The
right.
third one. But either way, it's like, and that's obnoxious as a viewer, because there's like people who are like, oh, I can't wait to see like the prequel. I'm like, oh, like, and I'm seeing people post about it because I like we've already seen it, and so I'm like, don't say anything.
Not a prequel. Not a prequel.
So, but it's not. And I did comment eventually. The shark guy Jeff posted he's really excited. He's going to do a live watch party for it because he's very excited about it. And so somebody had commented and was like, is this supposed to be like a prequel? I'm not understanding. So I did take the time to comment. I was like, just so you know, it's not a prequel. It's just called Origin Story because of some of the story elements. The filmmakers have confirmed it is not a prequel. It takes place after the Abaddon's been burned down. I was like, just an FYI. Because I think if you go into this not really understanding that it's not technically a prequel, I think that's going to make it even more confusing than it already is. So
and I think that was confusing to me at first. Like I was like, oh,
yeah,
not
because
a prequel.
because why would you call it Origins if it's not a prequel?
Like how it can't be a prequel if it's modern day, which it clearly is. So
yeah, so it's not exactly. And then they talk about it takes place after the Abaddon's. I just didn't want anybody else to be confused going into it because I think it can it can change the effect of the story if you're going in thinking it's one thing and ends up being another. But yeah, I wasn't bemused with this. I really liked the first one. The first one was so good, man. The scenes in that guy's room where you see the woman outside his door, like there were so many good shots. The clowns were fantastic in this. The acting was amazing. The story made sense. I was there for all of it. And then, 2 was fine. 3, I couldn't finish. And this one, I just was like, no, like I really wanted to go back to like the way the first one made me feel. And unfortunately, this missed it by quite a lot.
Bummer. Well, I like it. But Angel was, quote, not bemused by this.
I was not bemused. That's been my new thing
Put that on a shirt.
That's been my new thing lately when I don't love something. Because, I always end up on the opposite side of it. And trust me, you guys watching, I want to love these as much as other people do. I do. I would love to just love things.
Yeah.
But they just don't hit marks for me. And so, but lately I've been saying bemused a lot. I said that with Talk to Me. Like I liked it, but I wasn't as bemused as everyone else. I've been saying that a lot lately. So anyway, I digress. But anyway.
I was bemused.
Tom was bemused. And this is not one that I would tell people to skip. I wouldn't say that for this. I'd be like, no, if you like the other ones, 100%, especially I think if you if you have very strong affections for 2, I think you will really like this one. I really do. Because this one reminded me a lot of 2.
I would argue if you like the first one, you might like this too. I don't know.
Yeah, I liked the first
one.
I'm
not saying it's as good. I just think you'll like it.
There's some stuff that's similar, but to me, it fit more in the bill of like 2.
Okay.
As far as the way to scare it.
Fair enough.
But it's definitely better than 2 and 3. So,
agreed.
You heard it here first on Found Footage Fridays.
So what are we watching next week? Can we say yet?
Yeah. You remember the name?
No, I don't.
I had a feeling. I saw your eyes. So this one is a super, super random one. Tom is probably going to tell me that he doesn't know why we're covering it, but it's called it's a found footage movie that came out a few years ago. I can't remember the year. It's called Population Zero. Okay. It is a mockumentary style found footage movie that has more. I will just say this for people who may want to watch it ahead of time. It's very much more on the true crime side of things, but there's definitely, there's definitely some horror stuff to it as well. That is streaming on, I believe, Tubi.
Yep. I believe so.
So if you want to watch that before we talk, next Friday, then that'll be available. You can watch it on Tubi. So
I'm excited to watch it and then talk about it.
Yep. And once you guys see Carmichael Manor, come back and let us know if you loved it or hated it. I'm curious.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're a big fan. So, all right, cool. Well, that's our thoughts on Carmichael Manor. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this Found Footage Friday. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your week coming up. And Tom and I will see you next week.
See you next week, everybody. Bye.